Hi, everybody. Charlene here. I'm the president of HANA, and I'm here with Pat Stark. He's a director, and Stephen Ross is our IT expert. He's on our advisory board. And we're just here a little bit. I know I have done some videos, and I told you that these were coming, and they're here. So this is, you don't often get to see Pat, so now you get to see her on Zoom. And we're just going to be talking a little bit about a few different subjects, and we'll try to put some videos out once a week and just keep you informed. I did put a video out a few days ago, and I kind of explained everything, that we would be doing these short little snippets and just staying in touch with you over your healing journey. With everything that's going on right now, everybody is very uncomfortable, and we don't always know why. We have these different feelings, and Pat's the expert at being able to pull the why out of there. She is good at asking questions to make you think about things. So I think that's with the COVID going on, we're isolated more, so we're having to think, and we're having to talk about things and think about things, even if it's to ourselves and talking to God. And so I think this is a classic time when people who have been through sexual abuse are going to maybe revisit some things that they may not like to revisit. But let's talk about that, because that's really what you always help me walk through is, Pat, I'm feeling like this. What is going on? It's like it's a symptom for something a little bit deeper, and know how to pull that out of us.
Well, I think so often when we're in a situation like COVID, to start to look at what am I feeling? And to realize that it's normal to have feelings when life is disrupted. And a lot of times people try to disregard the feelings and pretend like life is normal and I should have the feelings I normally have when life is working. But it's not. And when it's not, we're isolated. There's fear of the future. What is going to happen if this continues down the road? There's very often anger that I can't make anything work the way I'd like to. And I feel a lot of times people use different words for anger. They might use frustrated or unhappy or I just can't think of another one right now, but annoyed.
Yeah, I don't always know when I'm angry until I either talk to you or write it down, because it's not always evident that I'm not a screamer and a fighter, so it takes a little more to bring. If I'm feeling a little funny, sometimes that is anger, and either I have to write about it or I have to talk about it. And I think that's with people like we're living by ourselves, so for us, I think it's critical. If we have to be able to talk to each other, talk to people. But if you can't do that, you need to write about your feelings and pray about them, and then take that to another person to be able to bounce that off, because we don't always know what's going on and why we're feeling the way we're feeling.
Exactly, because most of us have not been taught to recognize our feelings. And if you grew up in a home where you had a parent who raged, or either they were very angry in a vocal kind of a way or an abusive kind of a way, or you were taught anger is not okay, it's really easy to bury it. And then we don't even know we're angry. For years, I didn't know I was angry. It was a foreign word to me. And I had to recognize what anger felt like. And my word at the time was frustration. I'm frustrated. Well, frustration is a form of anger. So God had me have to learn how to say, instead of saying I'm frustrated, say I'm angry. What am I angry at? Why am I angry? Usually we're angry because we either feel powerless or we're afraid. There's something under the anger, and it's more powerful to feel, even if we call it frustration, it's more powerful to feel that than it is to feel fear. That feels very powerless. So the other place anger hides is in depression, and that's what I did for years. When I denied my anger, I had low-grade depression all the time, and it just seemed normal. I thought that's the way everybody lived. And I didn't realize that you don't have to live that way, but I had to start to name my anger. Every time I started to feel depressed, I would have to call it anger. Okay, if I'm angry, what am I angry at that I'm not facing? And I'm shutting down. And if I shut it down, it will come out as depression.
And if we are, there's so many things right now with COVID going on to be angry about, because we're not able to connect like we normally connect. A lot of people are going through financial problems and looking for jobs that just aren't there.
Don't exist. Yeah.
And it is a scary time. And I know God tells us, trust him, he's got this. But, some encouragement for people that are going through this, it's just uncertain. So how do you help them walk through that?
And again, we can't walk through anything we don't acknowledge. And see, a lot of times what happens when life doesn't work or relationships are not working or a job isn't working or whatever, we get angry and we blame.
Yes.
Instead of acknowledging, I'm scared. I don't know what's going on right now. God, are you there? Sometimes that's where we have to start. Are you enough? Are you there? And we have to wrestle with that instead of putting on a religious mask and just saying, oh yeah, he's there. Yes, he is. But there are times when we have to struggle that out to actually believe he is.
He's here, but now what? Yeah.
Yeah. And if we're not honest, we put that religious mask on, and what happens is we never get anywhere. We stay stuck. And emotions need to be worked through to get to the other side of them. That's where we come to a new place of peace and of rest in the middle of the turmoil.
Now, Miss Pat, I'll ask this. Is it wrong to be angry? Is it wrong to feel that emotion, at least in the beginning?
Anger is not a wrong emotion. Anger is a human emotion. And if we kill anger, we're killing our passion. We're killing the passion in the center of our being. That's why you see so much of the church passionless, shut down, not alive. Anger is necessary because we continually have to fight for life, not against people, not against God or life, but for life, because the thief comes to steal, kill, and destroy. And he does it through circumstances, through lying to us about the future, or whatever way he comes. If we're not fighting for our life, we're actually shutting down our life. So, Pat, I find that people that will work through their anger become very courageous people. And it's the same energy and the courage that's in the anger. It's Jesus cleaning the temple. He was courageous in the face of the leaders that wanted to do away with him. He was courageous, but it was that anger that was for life. It was for freedom. We need that anger, but not to use against ourselves or people or whatever. We need to own it as an emotion. It's a covering emotion. It usually covers fear or powerlessness or something else, like I said.
I remember when you told me I needed to get angry, and I was like, no, Pat, I'm good. I don't get angry. And then I exploded. I think it took years, but when you do hit that anger point, it comes out, it just
Yes.
really boom. But you really do need that emotion. You need that passion and that direction for justice for yourself, just to be able to realize and have that aha moment. And if you don't hit that explosive point, which I never had before in my life, and so many terrible things happen, and I'm a thinker, I'll think it out, I'll reason it out, and we try to reason what's right, what's wrong, and this would be the right thing to do, but that's that's not really it. Sometimes we do need to just lose it and scream in a pillow or do whatever we have to do. For me, it was writing the book in 4 days.
Yeah. Well, writing is a wonderful way to release it in a very safe way, because you're letting it out, you're putting a voice to it, but you're not hurting anyone with it, as long as we don't use it in a horrible letter that we send to somebody or something.
Right, because it's not really about who you're angry with. It's about your own feelings. So I remember when you walked me through that, there was a lot to be angry with. There were a lot of people to be angry with. But part of that forgiveness, it didn't even really encompass those people. It encompassed me and God, and walking through that and writing letters, talking to them, but it didn't really even matter whether they ever got it or not.
Right.
And
the letters, we should clarify, are not to be sent. You write the letters for the younger part of you that got hurt. You're putting words to it, but it's not to be sent.
That's why
it's just for ourselves.
That's why I call it journaling.
Yeah. I had a lady a number of years ago that could not get angry, and no matter how hard she tried. And one day she had been harmed and abused as a child. And one day she found one of her photo albums, and her face had been obliterated by some water damage that came from her bathroom into her closet. And when she saw her face obliterated as a child, she realized that's how she felt her whole childhood, obliterated, like she didn't matter. And when that happened, she got angry enough and went in the bathroom and knocked 3 walls of tile down in her shower. And she's not big, she's a little bit of a thing. And she got a sledgehammer and she knocked those tiles down.
Wow.
Because that water damage, I mean, obviously there was water damage behind the tiles, so they weren't firmly connected. I mean, they were loose as it was. But she put energy to that anger. And that's why writing can help, running can help. Some guys go out and play a hard game of basketball, whatever, because anger is energy and it needs to be released. Yeah, hitting a pillow can help.
I think when I was growing up, I was so good at sports. I was just excelled in them, and I loved. I would get up early in the morning just to go run stairs, play. I excelled in any sport I did, and I think that was part of an acceptable way to channel that anger and channel that frustration. And even now, you can run, you can walk, well, Stephen knows, he's a fitness expert. So, I mean, there are ways to channel it in the right way physically. And I do think being able to write about it and talk about it helps you to be able to put the justice part together, even if it's in your own mind, just to
Absolutely.
be able to work that out. That's so important. In my life, that was just so important for me to see that, because there was so much injustice.
Yes.
And to be able to see that, so you don't keep walking down that same path.
Right.
It can't be helped, but you do need to recognize things so you don't keep going down that same dead-end pathway.
So true, because we all long to be known and to be seen. And when you write about the injustice, you're hearing that younger part of you who felt the injustice. You're listening. You're saying you matter by listening to it. And then ultimately, once we've released it, to be able to realize the most unjust act in history was Jesus' death on a cross, a perfect person being abused, being betrayed, choosing to allow himself to be treated so unfairly so we would have someone to walk with us through the injustice, that we're not alone. Somebody gets it. Once we get it and we can fellowship with him in that suffering, we're not alone. And that starts the healing journey toward forgiveness, toward all of the steps that are necessary to walk out of it. We have to hear it first. Feelings are the voice of our hearts. If we don't listen to the feelings, we're not listening to our hearts, our heart cry. But once we put words to it, we're saying to our own hearts, you matter. I'm hearing. And then we can bring it to God. Before we own it, we really can't bring it to him.
Well, because we don't know it ourselves. There's so many things along the way that seem so obvious, but you can't see. And
Yes.
when you finally can see them, it seems so simple. And it, you know, for myself, it's like, why didn't I know that? Well, you couldn't
We
know
don't.
it. And you have to be able to forgive yourself at that point in your life for not being able to.
Yes, that's huge, Charlene. That's absolutely huge. Because when we have been rejected, when we've been shamed or abandoned or abused, that's what we were taught to do to ourselves. And in many ways, we do that to that younger part of us. We abandon it, we reject it, and we reinvent ourselves on the other side with a mask. And I think it's pretty hilarious that everybody's being forced to wear masks because we've been wearing masks for years and not knowing it. And it's time to take off the masks in the middle of it. And I don't mean the literal masks, I mean the internal masks.